in the midst of crises, the soul tries to become conscious and tries to become known by its host. So that's true in the individual life, in the individual story, but it's also true in the bigger story, the drama of the world. That is to say, if we want to change the world, we can't do it by agreeing. We can't do it by believing the same thing. We're actually here to follow the things that are unique to us. But if we follow our own uniqueness, if we awaken to our own calling, if we face our own fears and find our own destinies, then we become able to actually help change the outer world. I'm saying that's the way it changes. There's an old idea that said humans are the make weights in the scales of time. Humans are but a speck in the universe on one hand, but because of the soul, and because the soul is secretly connected all the way back to the origins of the tree of life, all the way back to the center of the cosmos, because of that deep connection, the change in the soul can have an effect on the world. Change the soul, change the world. That's the old idea. I'm sticking with that. So just a couple of other things to say. To truly change and become ourselves has nothing to do with becoming perfect. I keep meeting people who have had it impressed on them from early on that they should be perfect. And it's very troubling because to be perfect, when something is perfect, it's finished. Perfection means the end. And so the strange goal of trying to be perfect, if it should ever happen, it would be the end. The world is not perfect. No person born is perfect. We're not here. The word perfect is Latin. It means through the form. We're not supposed to go through the form to be perfect. We're supposed to go through the form to awaken. And when we awaken, we're a whole person. But a whole person is aware of their wholes as well as their abilities. In other words, the wholeness, that's the wholeness of the soul, has broken parts and forgotten things and holes in it. I hope I'm making sense, because perfectionism is like a pretension of the little self that is necessarily at odds with the deeper self. And becoming a whole person means awakening to the deeper self and soul. Inevitably, life places each of us in conditions that we require that we face our fears and our feelings of abandonment. That's the nature of the world. And but what's happening now, because the world itself is caught in this kind of troubling spiral, which comes at the end of an era, you could say, because of that, the intensity of those kind of feelings, the anxieties and the uncertainties, is now a collective condition which puts more pressure on each person, so that we can feel abandonment more often. But again, I'm going to say the cure or the solution is in going deeper to find the deep self. The outer world is not going to heal itself suddenly, nor is it going to settle anytime soon. That's, near as I can say, the state of things. And if we're going to find wholeness, and our soul longs for wholeness, but the wholeness we're longing for is connected to that thing that's hidden inside, the divine word that resides at the center of one's life, usually unknowingly. So when this deep self does manifest, then we feel truly empowered, but especially empowered to be our genuine selves. So ultimately, it is the connection to the deep self or soul. I use both words. Self to me is like a psychological word, and soul is like a mythological word. And the self is both psychological and mythological. And when we are connected to the deep self and soul, then the sense of loneliness and isolation in life disappears. There's the old idea that is different. There's a difference between difference between loneliness and feeling isolated and alone, feeling ultimately lonely. Someone else once said, feeling utterly lonesome is the condition of being out of touch with oneself, not the condition of needing someone else. Something to think about. This knowledge of there being a deep self-center, a deep soul, has always existed. It has always been part of human imagination, near as I can tell. And all sense of human creativity and spirituality depends upon some sense of there being an inborn spirit or soul that can become conscious and reveal its inner truths and innate wisdom to its host. In other words, the deep self is trying to reveal and can reveal inner truths and deep wisdom that already resides inside each person by virtue of being born. The deep self is trying to reveal that to the ego that is afraid to look in the place where the solution is. And so typically something has to happen, some kind of dramatic event, a loss, an accident, something that stops us in our tracks has to happen before we're willing to look in exactly that place that we need to look, that otherwise we avoid. And according to the old stories, it's necessary to go through some layers of confusion, trauma, and pain that exist because of early life experiences. But if we understand that there is something there, that it's an inheritance of the human soul by virtue of being born, we are more likely to have the kind of courage it takes to face our fears and look deep within. And again, when the world outside is falling apart, looking within is the only place really to seek for unity. And when we find that connection to the deep sense of self and soul, which I'm not saying becomes a steady state, but it can become a state of repeated awareness. And then even at that point, even if we have been abandoned repeatedly during childhood or early life, then we will not feel completely abandoned. We will not make the mistake of renouncing or disregarding our innate spirit of life.